Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. So these are interesting times that we've been living in, and we will continue to be living in for at least the foreseeable future. And with that, we've all had to make significant adjustments to our life, to our daily routines, to our work, working out, everything. We've had to make plenty of adjustments. But one of the adjustments that I feel like not a lot of people are talking about, at least I haven't seen people talking about, is the adjustments you have to make to learn now. So now with schools, residency, and beyond, a lot of our education, our didactics comes off of online lectures. These are through webinars, live lectures, pre-recorded lectures. Now, during medical school, there's always a component of recorded live lectures. You have textbooks, and that's how you kind of put the pieces together, and that's how traditionally it was done. Now, even in medical school, everything's remote. We're doing all this remote learning, and now we have all this breadth of knowledge presented to us in different formats that we may not be used to. So how do we make sense of all this? And how do we process the new information that we're getting through this new style of life that we've been living due to the situation around the world? So for me in particular, one of the main tools that I've used, and I think it's been really benefiting me, is this right here. Now, not saying that you need to have an iPad Pro, but this is my 11-inch iPad Pro. I use an iPad, and today I'm going to show you exactly how I use the iPad when it comes to processing online lectures and materials. So let's get into it. All right, so my first main strategy and my app of choice is something called Notability. It is very nicely integrated with this tool right here, which I think is a necessity. If you have an iPad Pro, I highly recommend the use of this tool. I know a lot of artists like to use this. This is the Generation 2 Apple Pencil. What's different about this one compared to the Generation 1 is the fact that this has a matte finish, and actually that makes a bigger difference than you think. The matte finish is really good in the hand and actually it feels more natural. It feels like you're using a pencil, which is exactly what the Apple Pencil is trying to imitate. So if you have something that makes you feel like you're using a pencil or a writing utensil that you've been used to, then I think that's a major plus. And then also it has special trigger points. So double tapping right here at the front of the Apple Pencil, there's no buttons on the Apple Pencil if you take a look. It's just a complete unibody matte design, but double tapping here will adjust between, let's say, your pen and your eraser. So you'll be writing, you want to erase something, double tap, erase, double tap, back. That little feature, actually, you'd be surprised how much you end up using it. So like I mentioned, my app of choice is Notability. And Notability is a really fantastic note-taking app. And essentially the way that I have it organized is what I do is on each broad topic, which could be chapters in your case, or in my case, different subspecialties of what I'm learning, I have these more generalized dividers per topic. Within each topic, I have multitude of notes, and I have different styles of notes in each topic, as you can see. And what I like to do is let's say, for example, this ultrasound topic here, I have notes that I made in question format based off of the chapter in the book. And then I have this over here, which is other scenarios where I've done practice questions and mistakes that I've made on practice questions, like the important pearls to kind of know from mistakes and things that I've gotten wrong in the past. And for each one, I have a system where if I have it mentioned in a certain type of way, like in this case it says rad primer, then I know that these were the questions that I did and mistakes that I made. So this musculoskeleton also has a rad primer section. And now this overall outlines things that I've gotten wrong while I've done practice questions in the past, and the important points that I didn't know at the time that I was taking this. So the other important thing is, like now, like I mentioned, a lot of our content is online, and a lot of our learning comes off of the online component. So given that, what I've liked to do recently is I take a lot of screenshots while I'm going through different lectures, because my goal is that I'm trying to essentially transcribe that online lecture into points that I think are testable and things that I think doctors could ask me or pimp me in real life while I'm working on a day-to-day basis. And then I'll use a combination of quick notes as well as screenshots to essentially make a reference material. So for example, like right now I'm working on, emergencies regarding the upper extremity. And in that scenario, I'm doing a lecture series on that. And as I'm watching the lecture series, I note down important points that I think are testable. And then I also screenshot, and with the airdrop feature, now I'm not saying that this is only to be done on the Apple ecosystem. I happen to be pretty deeply invested in the Apple ecosystem. So for me, I'm just going over my personal workflow and what I think works for me. So I'll be watching a lecture on my computer. When I feel like something is testable or something that I know will come up and an important point with that, what I'll do is I'll screenshot it. After I screenshot it, I'll crop it to exactly the information that I think that's pertinent. I'll airdrop it, open it up in Notability, and literally just put it in there. So, just in the future when I'm studying, this is an example of what a normal shoulder x-ray looks like. Here's something that I know has tricked me many times before, is the different orientation of the shoulder. So here I screenshot it and put in an image exactly of what the internal rotation, for example, in this case, looks like. Here's like one of the classifications of some shoulder injuries. I know I'm never going to be able to just blindly remember the classifications. I'm not going to be able to write down the classifications. This is something a little bit more visual. So this kind of helps me. So I've screenshotted it and just to kind of have the classifications there as a reference point. So this helps me not only on a day-to-day while I'm at work. I know where I can find certain information and reference it, but then it also helps me when it comes time to studying. So now once I've transcribed this is kind of essentially think of it as a text version of the lecture. From this, I will then generate another document where I have what I talked about before, where I write things down in question format to help me predict exactly what kind of questions might come on an exam. And then I use essentially spaced repetition and actively trying to recall that information. And I use those techniques with the use of my notes to help me kind of remember the information better. So that's essentially what it is. This has really been extremely helpful. You can annotate directly on the images, and Notability just makes it extremely easy to do so. There's another app called GoodNotes. It's another very popular app. However, I used to use GoodNotes, but I've switched over to Notability. I just feel like the user experience is just way better. So I recommend using Notability. So there we have it. Quick tips from me about what works and how I usually now am able to digest all this influx of online material. Stay safe. Let me know your thoughts, and until next time.